Today we are doing chapter tanks, getting into the technology. These are not going to be as cool as the ones in World War II. So a lot of this stuff is not actually going to be as like, it's cool that it first came out and that it got so advanced in the time that it did. But yeah. All right. All right. Number 1, the Germans had a new weapon they believed might end the long period of trench warfare. In the early months of the war, the Germans had hoped their use of poison gas would break the stalemate on the Western Front. Their plan failed, and the war dragged on. By 1916, the British had a new weapon they believed might end the long period of trench warfare. This weapon was the tank. So number 1 is false. I'm just going to put F in the chat. The vehicle was called a tank to disguise its purpose. The vehicle was called a tank to disguise its true purpose. When the first tanks were transported to France, it is said they were covered and labeled water tanks for Russia. The word tank stuck and has been used ever since. The early tanks were very fast and it could go 60 miles an hour. Although early tanks could only travel 3.7 miles per hour, they were effective when they did not break down or get stuck in the mud. Tanks could run over machine gun nests, destroy barbed wire barriers, and provide cover for advancing soldiers. They even carried logs that were used as bridges when the troops crossed trenches. False for number 3. Tanks could run over machine gun nests. That's true. The first tanks appeared in war at the Battle of the Somme. Tanks appeared in war at the Battle of the Somme in 1916. The Germans were stunned when they first saw the monstrous vehicles lumbering toward them. Some German soldiers stood and laughed, but most fled in terror. Only 18 out of 49 tanks saw action at the Battle of the Somme. The others were halted by mechanical problems and muddy ground. And so here you can see how the setup kind of is. So they have not gotten to the point where there's like a big turret at the top that moves the, I would say, cannon shooting. So they're still using these little, okay. Me saying little machine guns, it's not a little machine gun. This is like still the bigger machine guns. They were just, smaller than this thing up here. All right, so number 5 is true. Okay, tanks had a long way to go before they were reliable. 114 broke down at the Battle of Cambrai. We're down here, about halted. All right. Tanks were used in mass formation for the first time at the Battle of Cambrai, I think it's Cambrai, in 1917. The results were similar to those at the Somme. Of the 370 8 tanks engaged in the battle, 114 broke down. The tank had a long way to go before it would be considered a reliable fighting machine. So, if you were trying to attack a tank, you could, like, go up at the top and try to shoot in. So there was a few things you could do, and because they were slow, you could, but they'd also have their soldiers around these tanks. So a lot of these tanks would provide cover, and so the soldiers would kind of be behind them. So it was like a giant shield that ran over things. And so if you try to come out and shoot at it, there were soldiers back here that could kill you. So, true for number 6. Was there anything more I needed to read? I know there's a video up here. Alright, I'm gonna be